I've crashed the stream.
Hello.
Who's
So,
How's it
here?
going? This is Nathan from TTR.
Yo, what's up?
It's been a while, Eric.
How you doing, man?
I'm holding up, best I can in the circumstances, I suppose.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
that's like the statement of 2020. It's like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm surviving this year, so that's the
right.
best I can hope for
That's right. Good,
sometimes.
good inventory. All of us are still here. We
Yeah.
have all of our wits about us as best we can, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. All things considered, not doing too awful. There's a not that the bar is very high for this year,
That's
but
right.
so yeah. Yeah, I did get to watch that game. So I would say that Eccedo's deck exemplifies what makes like a really good mass mutation deck. Decks that are threatening faster than they look like they should be threatening, and it just keeps the opponent on the back foot the whole time, right? They don't play catch up very well, so when they get behind, they're often at a disadvantage. They don't have the tools they need to get back into a game. But when they're in the driver's seat and they're dictating the pace of the game, it's like it feels oppressive. It feels really hard to catch back up.
Yeah.
And because there's a lot of variance in this game, it's a Jekyll and Hyde situation with a lot of those decks. Sometimes you play the deck and it feels invincible. Sometimes you play the deck and you're like, are you even the same deck that I played even just last round?
Yeah, that was certainly what we saw last game. I mean, that's just wild. I will say that that Eccedo's deck does have decks that have Captura in Mass Mutation. I think are a little bit better at playing catch up if they have a board. But Eccedo's deck only has 14 creatures, so it's not the best Captura deck that I've seen. I mean, it has other strengths, but Eccedo's deck looks to me like it kind of has a bunch of pieces of different archetypes, right? It's got Torado and Serum, but it only has 6 mutants. It's got Captura, but it only has 14 creatures, and some of them are okay, but 2 of those creatures are Cinder, so you can't really reap with them. Otherwise, you're going to have to blow your own stuff up. So it doesn't quite fit that archetype. But if it draws correct, like if it draws the Logos early with triple lethological, like we saw, it goes hog. Like it just goes off the deep end.
Yeah, you've got the way to cycle through the deck. That was in the previous game that Eccedo played against Z. Eccedo managed to mill, which I think one of his important cards are. It's Faust, right? I think Faust is very important for the deck because Faust plus Amphora Captura means you can basically make your opponent to forge for whatever amount of amber that they have, right?
Yeah.
So you can, and especially combining with like Spoils the Battle and cards like that, you can basically, if your opponent puts like 20 amber on the board, you can make them pay a lot of that to forge a key, which is what you need to catch back up in a game. But he wasn't even in that situation in that last game, right? Like when you get to dictate with a deck like this, and I think Dis and Logos, particularly in mass mutations, have the ability to just generate a grotesque amount of card advantage and a grotesque amount of ambers like simultaneously. So
yeah, and I think that that's a good observation. I mean, I would just build on that by saying because in Eccedo's deck there isn't almost any way to protect Faust. Like I'm looking for taunt. There are 2 Cinders, but other than that, there's no warding. So there's like
outside of Axiom, right?
Oh, right. That's fair, Axiom, but but you're usually not. Well, no, I guess you could be playing Axiom, but most of the time, the best use of Faust in this deck is to make your opponent pay 15 or whatever.
Yeah. So, right. So I think the thing with Faust is when you're playing him to tax, and he's like a super reader Gallum sometimes. When you're playing him to tax, that's when he's best. You don't care that he's removed afterwards, right? You may use his exalt feature, you may not. But you want the ability to force the opponent to pay as much as they can for the key at that moment.
Yeah. And I mean, there are other builds where Faust can be a persistent threat. If you have some ability to protect, if you have warding, or you have like multiple sources of warding, or multiple copies of Faust, or whatever, you can. There are iterations of mass mutation decks where Faust can be more of a persistent threat, but in this deck, the nuts for Faust is making his opponent pay 15 for first key. Like playing City State, capturing all the amber, taking him off check, then his opponent, does something where he gets a bunch of amber, and then you play Faust and say, okay, you forge for 15 or whatever, and then we are where we are.
Yeah. Faust serves as he's a good mirror for Eddie in this set, right? I think he's way more balanced than Eddie is. I don't think Eddie is unbalanced. I do think Eddie is quite powerful. But Faust, I think, is very interesting because you have to make choices, because as soon as those creatures are dead, your opponent gets the amber back. What we see a lot of in mass mutations, from our experience, is like this snowball effect where both players just are fighting tooth and nail to get that first key.
Yes.
That key gets forged, and the game just spirals out of control and is like over in 2 to 3 turns afterwards.
Yeah.
So
I would expect something like that to happen this game, because especially if Ewaldus can board. In the games we've casted, I don't think we've seen Ewaldus go absolutely off the charts with Mars yet. We haven't seen any John Smith nonsense. We have seen him establish a board, but not the
nothing
John
substantial,
Smith.
Honestly. Do you
What's
play?
that?
I said he's never been able to establish just a super substantial board. The interesting question is, do you play Speed Sigil?
Well,
I don't typically like Speed Sigil against decks that aren't other Coda decks, because the creatures are so much better.
Yeah,
Speed Sigil often ends up being the liability.
I would consider it because Eccedo only has 14 creatures in his deck.
Yeah, but like Odd Claude, Hystricog,
there's downside for sure.
I don't like those there. That's
fair. I mean,
if some of the threats are out, so I mean, if he's already played his Tirado, and maybe some of maybe like a Hystricog, if you've seen like a couple of those come out, you're probably like, if you draw it mid to late game and you're in the lead, I think you definitely consider it. But I tend to agree with you, Nathan. I think there's a lot of punishment that can happen with, especially like you said, outside of Coda, because all the Reap effects just have gotten better. Reap fight effects.
Right, the Reap effects are at the power level they need to be to like compete with just the efficiency that exists in Coda, right? So
we'll see what happens. I mean, I'll make an argument for playing Sigil if he hasn't gotten into the Mars nonsense yet.
Yeah,
But I definitely understand what you're saying. If Eccedo had like 17 or 18 creatures, I think it's much. It's pretty close as it is, but I think it would be tipped in the other direction.
Okay. Raw dogged the implosion there. You could have left the Infernus and so he Stirring Graved it. That's what he wanted there. He wanted the Infernus in the archive.
Oh yeah, okay.
I was temporarily confused by that play. Okay, Alex to play Speed Sigil.
Our question has been answered.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, he gets instant value out of Speed Sigil, so that is additional argument for playing it, because you immediately get to kill a creature.
It cranks the tempo up on the game very fast too, right?
It does. Everyone in chat, please fasten your seatbelts. Oh, here's the Logos turn. Neurocycling, lethological, Eclectic Inquiry, Odd Claude on Speed Sigil. That was a Logos turn. All right, so now you need the payoffs.
I would say that was a below average Logos turn for mass mutations.
Well, for peak mass mutation for sure.
Yeah.
Missed an amber on. He could have played Protect the Weak on Odd Claude before Spirit's Way.
Yeah. He just really didn't want to protect to give Odd Claude any positive reinforcement. It was really important for him to make sure. I don't know if you guys know this, but I found out recently that card was actually pseudo created to pay tribute to Keyforge content creator John Claude.
Oh,
really?
Yes, yes. And that was that's. I mean, I don't have that from official sources, but I have that from back channel sources that are reliable. That was the inspiration.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
For like Trimble, like Rachel's tribute card is in this set as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Games made it when you get some tribute cards.
Yeah, no, I like it. I'm waiting for the. I mean, Eddie got an unintentional tribute card. How old is Eddie? Was Eddie alive when other Eddie?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, then I'm going to call it a tribute card.
I don't think the timing works out. I don't think the timing quite works out. But there was somebody who watches our stream made a fan copy of that. So.
That's cool. Yeah. Like altered art or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
They photoshopped Eddie's face onto the card. So catching back up, Grim Reminder. Yeah. What did we get with Grim Reminder?
He took Historian. I didn't see what. So... Well, let me cycle back and I'll tell you.
But you would have gotten the Demosaurus, right?
Yeah, the Demosaurus and something.
His Archives is currently in. No, he pulled Infernus out. So
yeah, Faust. He got Faust.
Okay, that makes sense.
Demosaurus and Faust are in Archive.
Wait, there's 2 Fausts in his deck?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, Faust is on the board. Oh, no, it might just be Demo. What? That's weird.
Is it Thero?
Could be a. Did one get?
I'm seeing what he played. I don't know if he played any other.
I bet something got discarded. I bet what happened is something got discarded by Lethologica.
Yeah, and he could have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's
Sharbertus. Sharbertus is the card in Archive.
Okay. Lethologica plus a Grim Reminder is a awesome combo. So.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things in my my best mass mutation deck that I opened. Surge of Valenplace Forest has double Lethologica, Grim Reminder, so you can set up some kind of fun stuff. It doesn't work out a lot of times, but sometimes it does. Lethologica is a card that is very weird. It's like sometimes it wins you the game.
Yeah, it's very powerful. The Cyberclone taking out the Tunk there is interesting.
Wonder
you have just a bunch of big creatures, right? So you might as well get the Tunk, the one that has the ability to fight multiple times and can heal.
Yeah. Obviously not worried about the taunt too much. See the Grabber Jammer come out behind the... See, and that I think this situation is slightly the reason where I would have considered getting rid of the Dominator, but I think Tunk is not a terrible choice.
Well, I mean, how much stuff does Eccedo have that could just deal 2 damage to a creature behind taunt?
I think he has some damage fits.
Yeah. I don't want to speak too soon. It's possible we could be on the verge of seeing Hollow Blaster do something functionally useful in a match. But we are not there yet, though.
I will say, thus far, it has seemed like Eccedo's deck has gotten a lot more value out of Speed Sigil than...
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. I mean, I think part of that is because he hasn't drawn John Smith yet, right? John Smith is a huge payoff for Speed Sigil.
Correct. But, yeah, I do think so. Worlds Collide, I think, tipped the balance because that Speed Sigil decks were picking up in popularity towards the end of like the Coda AOA, and then when Worlds Collide came out, you just can't play Speed Sigil decks because you run into a Worlds Collide deck and they slam a Velociraptor and they immediately use it. Or they slam like a Quant and immediately use it, I'm not even touching the Star Alliance cards that are absolutely busted.
Here's the here's the huge comeback, the Numquid nonsense. Got his fella here.
Yeah, Numquid
okay.
with a big
all right, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
Eccedo's still up substantially in this match, but that is a big deal.
Numquid is a very powerful card, and it has aged very gracefully as the game has moved on. Numquid from the first set, it just brings so much value, especially against wards, right?
Yeah,
because
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's situations where you can just kill all of the wards and then start killing creatures.
Yeah, no, I mean that we did see that. We talked about that in previous games we casted of Ewaldus' deck. The problem is Eccedo just might be going too fast here because Ewaldus doesn't have Ewaldus has Hypnotic Command and that's it basically.
The Lethologica pulls.
Oh God!
Here's another crazy Logos turn.
Yeah,
he's just looping through it. You can even into a Neurosiphon. It almost doesn't matter if the Neurosiphon hits,
this
right?
is a non-library access turn, and he's played
This game is now over. There's nothing that Ewaldus could have in deck that will matter.
Yeah, there's no doorstep to heaven, right?
No Scaling Steel. Hypnotic Command is the best, but even if he played 5 Mars creatures, it still wouldn't do it. So.
I gotta say, Ewaldus has done fairly well having to play a Mars Sanctum Shadows.
Yeah, no, very, very impressive for that. That's an extremely impressive performance, but just a little outclassed in this particular matchup, given the draws. So he never drew John Smith, huh? Or just did at the end. That's
4 cards left in the deck.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, John Smith would have helped out a lot. He needed some sort of scaling amber answer. So a lot of the mass mutation decks can certainly generate those. Just turns where they'll put 12 amber on a table.
Yeah, it can just do the burst.